Hello and good morning, all of you here. I am Richa Rastogi from Center for Development of Advanced Computing Center, Pune, India. And today I will be talking on the high performance computing challenges and promises in the field of seismic data processing, as Brian has already introduced to that. So the flavor of the conference, according to me, is more on the HPC technologies and hardware technologies. So I will take you towards the application side of HPC in my field. So to start with, today I have divided my talk into the following contents. Being a geoscientist, I would like to first talk on the objectives of the geosciences and the wide range of applications it has. Then I will come to the oil and gas sector and the world scenario to that. Then we will talk about seismic data processing as a whole and a hydrocarbon cycle. And after that, we will be focusing what we are doing in CDAC in this field. And according to the experts in CDAC, what are the HPC requirements we have in this field? And what are the challenges? And also we would like to focus on some promises which HPC technologies makes to this field. And finally conclude my talk. So let's first concentrate on and understand what is geosciences is. See, this old man is the geoscientist here, and this is our lovely planet Earth. And the geosciences always love to explore Earth on a larger and larger scale and to understand it. And the reason could be commercials, reason or scientific reasons. So the main aim we can say that to understand and image Earth at higher and higher resolution. So how do geoscientists do that? If he wants to, let's say, study this portion of Earth, he will send some artificial seismic waves into the Earth and record them on the surface. And it will give them a sound picture of the Earth layers beneath, and you'll get something like that, which we call as subsurface image. Subsurface image is nothing but a snapshot of the Earth. If you cannot see Earth from the top. So what you have to do, you have to have some means to look into that. And why we look into that, it's to know that structures, what are the rocks below that, and what are their properties, densities, velocities of seismic waves. So after doing everything, our main aim is to image the structure and to get the layers out of that so that it can make some economics to us. Okay, in this slide, I would like to tell you more about where we apply this applications of this branch of science. Let's say that every day we use oil and gas for our daily life. So this is the major thing which we want from the earth, and we always depend on metals and minerals from the earth to get it in our daily life. And also for the scientific reasons, we want to understand earthquakes and tsunamis, and we want to make our structures very safe of them. And same thing about the infrastructure, like we want to make huge bridges, dams, and railway tracks, and buildings, and nuclear sets, and everything. We want to study the earth before making them. So you can say that the application of this whole sector is huge, and it can take care of the world economy to the daily life of common man. This is a spectrum, you can say. So this is a very important branch of science which we want to study. Now, after doing all this, I will just concentrate today on the sector of oil and gas and its world scenario and related to the hydrocarbon cycle. We will not go into the details of each application which I have talked today. Let's say now these are two graphs which I have taken from Total, which is an oil company, well-known oil company. They have given this in 2007. So these two graphs shows you that the discoveries of oil and the production of oil. If you look into this first graph, in the early ages of discoveries, we have huge discoveries. But as the years passes by, the discoveries slow down. And the same thing here, that the discoveries here are good, but the production when it started in 1970, it is still very low. So we have to understand why these graphs are looks like this. So I can say that in the early ages in 1970s or 65s, the sciences were not very mature and we don't have much powerful computers. But we can explore oil because it is easily available. It was not explored earlier, so we can find oil easily in the traps. But as we have extracted all the oil from those traps, now it is getting difficult day by day to get each drop of oil from the earth, because easily available oil is already exhausted. And now we have to explore earth on very detailed structure resolution, so that we can get some more information about the earth and we can get this oil. Similarly, even if you get good discoveries, you cannot take each drop of oil out of that, because the technology is still to grow and it is very difficult to do the drilling, and the drilling scenarios are very difficult to take out the oil. So this is a combined thing. You can say that oil and gas is a very important problem, you can say, in our lives today. Now, oil and gas is nothing but hydrocarbons. So in this slide, I would like to explain a little bit about the study of hydrocarbons. And this we do using seismic data processing, because everything we are going to process is seismic data. So I will tell you now that how the data is collected and how you can get the oil. So in the first stage, the oil is, you identify the field where you want to do the survey, and you do the survey in the land, you do the survey in oceans for ocean bottoms, and you collect that sort of shot gathers, we call it. There's a response of the earth due to these seismic waves. So these areas and fields are increasing day by day, and the petabytes of data is coming from one survey. And one single survey, and one survey took around, in the ocean can took around 6 months roughly to cover the whole thing. So the kind of data sets coming out of this is increasing every day. And for that data we have to do data acquisition itself is very costly affair. Then we have to store and pre-process the data to do the initial thing to improve the noise and signal to noise ratio. Then the second step is coming around post-processing and imaging loop. If you imagine that this is an earth inside, it's a salt dome, and this is the kind of structure we get. So from coming from this place to this place, there are a lot of algorithms involved into that, and we still input data of this size and equally produce output data of that size. After doing that imaging, we have to come to the interpretation. Now if we find out that this is structure, then where to drill? The interpretation guys, they do the business here, and they find out the locations, and they need to visualize this data and in a huge sense, and to find out the locations. And from there they goes to the production. Now if they decided where to drill, they make a well to drill, and then the production starts. But this is called as a reservoir. We call it as a reservoir. So in the reservoir, there's a lot of things to do, like management of the reservoir. Each bit of this has been mapped and simulated, and do everything to know that how much oil we are getting and where we have stuck. Do we have to inject some water wells to push the oil outside? So it's a whole business. This is, you can say that oil production and reservoir management is the whole process. So after doing everything, you get the oil. So now what CDAC is doing? So we are here. We actually focus on the post-processing algorithms and imaging loop of the seismic data. And these are the kind of algorithms we work at CDAC. they are all very compute and data intensive. The kind of algorithms are like modeling algorithm, in which you get the, if you get, this is the input, this side is the input and this side is the output of the algorithm. If you give the structure, I will go back, sorry. If you give, okay, you want to simulate this data and you want to get this, then this is a modeling algorithm. By giving this as input, I don't know, where is this? Yeah, if this is input, this is the output, this is modeling. Similarly, migration means that you give the data recorded in the field and you get the structure, which we see in that box, 3D box was there. And there is another branch of this which is just opposite to that, that you give the data and you'll get the properties of it, which we call as inversion. So these are the three basic areas in which we do research, and these are the projects handled by us. This is one project called seismic full waveform inversion. We call it InWave, in which we find out the properties like P and S velocities at, this is a 1D application. And this is a migration volume which we have created from data. And this is modeling application. You can see if this kind of the input you give, the seismic waves travel like this and we simulate the seismic waves. Here this application is a tomography application, where if you start with a single velocity, you'll get the reconstruction of the surface, and it is similar to a CAT scan in the medical history. So if we just concentrate on, I'll just show you the results of what we have run in CDAC on the full waveform inversion. A full waveform inversion in CDAC is a genetic algorithm based technique in which we use RCGA as an optimization technique, and here we have simulate 1050 unknowns for one CDP gather for 2.8 seconds. So the number of traces was 80 in that, and we took all these parameters for GA. And this is our machine at CDAC, UVA. And if we take 40 nodes of UVA to run this application without any threads, then it took around 900 hours. But as you increase the number of cores on the UVA machine till 16, which is the maximum to one core, it reduced to 48 hours. So this is a simulation which we have arrived there. You can see that was single CDP is taking 48 hours to do, even if we are using the whole course into that. And these are, I can skip also, but let's see, these modeling techniques, the algorithm is for solving differential equations. Here in migration we solve both differential equation and integral equations. In inversion we work with the optimization techniques like data simulation for modeling and local optimization like GLI and GA. Now in this, all these techniques, the kind of parallelization we do is space parallelization. That means we divide the problem and we achieve the parallelism. And in the second case, we divide the data and achieve the parallelism. And the third case, we have to do both the things to fasten up the application. These are the solutions which we have come up and the methods which we have arrived. Like in inversion, we have real coded genetic algorithm, damp factor optimization, tomographic inversion, and migration velocity analysis. These are few techniques which are really very compute intensive. Now if you see the world scenario of that, there are many projects in the whole world which are dealing with the seismic data processing in the HPC scenario. To name a few is a HyperBeam project from PGS. It's an algorithm called RTM, and this RTM is done in 10 minutes. That means hundreds of kilometers of data migration has been done in 10 minutes. That's really an achievement. Now the second project is Roadrunner project and the Repsol Kaleidoscope project and Sam Williams project. So these are huge HPC projects just for seismic data processing. So having understood all this, now if we want to say that what are our requirements in HPC, then we can lay out some requirements. Let's say the number of The complexity of algorithms are huge. There are huge complex physical algorithms we have to code, and the number of algorithms to improve the signal to noise ratio is also big. So, and they are all handling big data sizes. So the storage and retrieval of data is a challenge or requirement. And the kind of area we want to explore is getting larger and larger and deeper to get the oil. And everything we want very fast processing and interpretation to get the results very fast. And the interactive visualization and interpretation we look for, and the exploration and exploitation management tools we look for. So this is some of this thing, but everything can be said in one line that we always want to reduce the cycle time from survey to drilling and to increase our production, because survey to drilling, if survey takes 6 months, then that to make a decision to drill takes 2 years. So that's the time, and its whole business, a single drop of oil is a business to the industry, so they want to reduce this time badly. So if you see this graph by total, there's in 2010 they have reached application which can go up to petaflop, and 2020 they are going towards hexaflop. So this is the kind of latest application that they are dealing with. Now, I'm not an HPC expert, but from the perspective of a geoscientist, I can lay out some challenges which I feel that should be handled. Because the porting and scaling of legacy algorithm across the different hardware is a problem. It's maybe a mental block to the geosciences, but it's a problem right now because the platforms are changing very fast and we have to move from one to other to improve our performance. So this is one of the problem. And the second is data transfer. Now this is like data sizes are getting huge, and now it has to be transferred from memory to the process management and across to the very, very powerful computers. So this type of management is required. It's a challenge, you can say. And also the kind of handling of petabytes of data in the memory for processing, interpretation, and visualization is a challenge. Now also, when the algorithm is running on the server, that it wants a very quick delivery of the data to the processing units. The processor, each processor may be doing a different kind of activity, and it requires different portion of data. So the delivery should be very quick, so that we can reduce the runtime and increase the performance of that. Also, for increasing the resolution of visualization and real-time rendering of computed results is in an interactive fashion is also a challenge. Every interpreter wants to see the data physically, move into the data in a 3D sense, and want to see it in a real-time fashion to make some decisions. So that is a very huge HPC requirement we can see here. Now, as the computers are growing, single HPC systems are having n number of components which are interacting, so the failures are likely. So the algorithm should not fail because of the hardware things. So this is one area which needs to be looked on, that the algorithm works even if the system, some portions are not working. And also there are new computing paradigms coming every day. So re-engineering all the algorithms to get a new paradigms is a huge, huge challenge right now. And one challenge which I feel is most important above all is the computing sensitiveness to our environment and community. So now, if in a one sentence, if I want to say whatever I said right now, then I want a real HPC challenge system today to link all the computing units together and to transfer large data volumes from the processing units to the process data in small chunks distributed over many processing units. That means I want an efficient networking, an efficient data access, and efficient algorithms to deal with the problems. Now, if I make a collage of the emerging technologies of which are promises from HPC, then you can see there are SMPs, MPPs, multi-core processors, GPUs, FPGAs, CoreArray, Fortran, UPC, OpenCL, and CUDA. There are a number of things which are coming up. And also on top of that, there's a GRID and cloud sitting. So these are, we can say there are a little bit of promise in all the technologies. But what we are looking forward is the Interact system which can give me all the solution. So to accelerate the R&D and production in seismic data processing, I look for a hybrid kind of system which give me facilities like HPU, GPUs and multi-cores together, and that can be a good option from my point of view. OpenCL can handle such kind of systems, and hybrid clusters, but one interconnect, and that can offer me programming paradigm and application acceleration in environmental friendly way. But there are certain issues which need to taken care of, like porting efforts required. The standards of programming should come up. Memory management tools and which give a user a more detailed things like what is happening inside the application. Bandwidth should grow and latency should reduce for large clusters, and also should handle the failures at the hardware level automatically. And finally, you can say that power and heat aware job schedulers, and we can say that in a few sentences that we cannot make a system which is of size of moon and can take the power and water of whole earth to run one application and to get the oil. That is not possible. So the thing is that it should come up in a shared way. We should make such computers which can be shared through grid or cloud or over the bandwidth. We should not replicate the computers of such calibers, because it will be not friendly to the planet and humans living on that. Now I will conclude my slides by saying that there are challenges. If there are challenges, there are promises also, and HPC is helping to larger discoveries in these areas. So maybe it will continue like that, and the hybrid computing is emerging as a good scenario to handle, and sharing of resources is required, like over the cloud, grid and bandwidth, and the technology should grow on this direction. Also the power aware things like job schedulers, accelerators like FPGAs, and better memory management algorithms, resilient programming are the need of the hour. And last but not the least, the technology, whatever it is growing, it should be society sensitive, means green. We should go towards green computing. Okay. Now I would, before I thank, I would like to thank Brian for inviting me for this talk, and CDAC for sponsoring the trip. And this is just my thank you slide. It will leave you with thoughts. Like this is a research vessel which go into the ocean to collect the data. These are few layers: ocean floor, sediments and igneous rock, this kind of rocks. And if you see the survey goes from 0 to 250 kilometers in one go. There are geophones in the, therefore geophones in the ocean and on the bottom, which you can see with the red. And this is a kind of survey, normal survey thing which the oil companies do on a daily basis. But we waste that hardened oil in the traffic jams of Bombay like this. And so we should always think about saving oil, not wasting them. And also our economy, every country's economy and is very sensitive to the oil prices. So it will go down and go up with the prices. And also our GDP and growth is always lies on oil prices. So everything concluded that HPC has now a lot of burden to handle all this, because we need everything like this. Thank you.